Your motorcycle's biggest threat isn't the highway, the weather, or even the miles. It's the wrong gas station. Riders are seeing clogged injectors, gummed-up carbs, moisture-soaked fuel lines, and rough running that starts right after a fill-up. And when you look at inspection data and rider reports, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Some stations are cutting corners on storage, turnover, and additive strength, and your engine pays for it. So tonight, we're exposing the 11 gas station brands that are slowly destroying motorcycles across America. Number 11. Safeway gas stations. Many riders overlook how subtle fuel issues begin. Yet gasoline from Safeway has shown inconsistencies that can stress engines over time, making this entry a real concern for anyone depending on clean, stable performance during long-distance travel. Riders have reported that the fuel coming from these locations regularly carries low detergent levels, and those weak blends slowly leave a film inside the system that builds layer by layer with every mile. Engines that were once smooth begin to hesitate at idle, stumble under light throttle, and lose the crisp response that older machines depend on for dependable touring comfort across long distances. The larger issue comes from how this fuel is stored and cycled. Many Safeway stations operate in regions where tanks sit longer, and that can introduce moisture into the blend, especially during seasonal temperature swings. Moisture in fuel does not always announce itself immediately. Instead, it creeps in quietly, creating small pockets of corrosion that show up later as clogged filters, rough cold starts, and varnish settling around injectors or carburetor passages. When a machine relies on steady, clean combustion to maintain power under load, problems like these can turn a simple ride into a string of avoidable repairs. Some riders shrug it off because the price looks appealing, yet savings disappear quickly once the fuel's long-term effects begin showing up as maintenance issues that should never have happened. The next entry on this list shows how fuel inconsistency can grow into an even larger problem for riders who expect their engines to stay reliable. Number 10. 7-Eleven fuel. Engine wear often starts quietly, and fuel from 7-Eleven has been linked to moisture risks and weak additive strength, turning simple fill-ups into gradual damage riders only notice once their machines begin struggling for power. The challenge with this station is not the brand itself, but the constant shifts in supply. Different distributors, different tanker schedules, and different additive packages create a mix that changes from town to town. And that inconsistency shows up quickly in machines that rely on steady, clean combustion over long distances. Riders who pay attention to every sound in the engine often notice rough idle, hesitation leaving a stoplight, or a faint knock during steady cruising after filling up here. What complicates matters is the ethanol variation that has been reported across several regions. Posted numbers might promise one thing, yet the actual content can run higher, and that change affects older motors first. Ethanol attracts moisture, and when moisture works its way into a system designed for clean, dry gasoline, it begins leaving small problems that grow over time. Carburetor passages start gumming, injectors develop uneven spray, and fuel pumps work harder than they should. Reliable touring engines can lose smoothness after only a few tanks. Many riders use this station because it is convenient, but convenience alone does not protect an engine designed to carry miles of memories. The next entry on this list shows how fast fuel inconsistency can evolve into a more serious problem for anyone who values dependable performance. If you're finding this breakdown useful, make sure you like the video and subscribe so you never miss the next investigation. Share your thoughts below, because real riders' experiences help reveal patterns no brand or station will ever admit publicly. Number 9. Sam's Club fuel. Lower prices attract crowds, but fuel from Sam's Club can suffer from inconsistent turnover, allowing contamination to creep in slowly and affecting engines that rely on steady combustion to stay responsive across demanding highway stretches. Many riders who have logged serious miles on older touring engines know how subtle changes in combustion feel, and this station often introduces those changes sooner than expected. The root of the problem lies in how warehouse fuel systems operate. Tanks in these large membership stations can sit longer than at dedicated fuel stops, especially during slow seasons, and that extra time gives moisture and sediment an opportunity to accumulate. As tanks age and temperature swings grow across certain regions, fuel stored for extended periods begins to absorb water. That water settles into the lower layer of the pump system, and even small amounts can disrupt performance. Riders report cloudy gasoline, harder cold starts, and filters showing signs of early clogging after repeated fills from these stations. Engines that normally fire with confidence start behaving differently, especially during steady highway cruising where consistency matters most. Moisture and sediment also speed up varnish formation in carburetor passages and create uneven spray patterns in fuel injectors. These issues start small, but they build steadily over time, eventually costing far more in parts and labor than the small savings gained at the pump. Sam's Club offers convenience and familiarity, but fuel stability should matter more than a few cents saved. The next entry on this list demonstrates how cutting costs in sourcing can create even tougher challenges for riders who depend on predictable performance. Protect your bike, protect yourself. Check the description for trusted gear and accessories built for real miles. Number 8. Circle K. Many touring riders have reported rough running after visiting Circle K, where aging pumps and questionable maintenance can allow debris or water to reach the tank, quietly undermining performance long before the engine shows visible symptoms. The trouble begins with how these stations source their fuel. Unlike dedicated fuel brands that use consistent suppliers, Circle K often purchases whatever blend offers the lowest cost at that moment. That means the gasoline going into the tank one week can be entirely different from what comes through the pumps the next week. This inconsistency becomes a real issue for motorcycles that depend on predictable combustion and clean delivery. Riders who have tuned their engines over years of ownership can feel the difference almost immediately. Reports from multiple regions point to a recurring pattern of weak detergent levels and poor tank maintenance. Low detergent fuel leaves a thin layer of carbon that builds faster than riders expect, especially in engines that already carry miles and memories. Add in the possibility of water intrusion from older underground tanks, and the mix becomes even more unpredictable. Water does not need to enter in large amounts to do damage. Even small traces can create cold start hesitation, uneven idle, and corrosion forming inside fuel system components. Some riders stop here because the stations are convenient and easy to locate, but convenience alone cannot guarantee fuel quality. Over time, inconsistent blends and less than ideal storage conditions start showing up in ways that affect both performance and long-term reliability. The next entry on this list shows how a business model built entirely around low prices can lead to even tougher problems for riders who value dependable power on the open road. Number 7. Murphy USA. Problems with hesitation and reduced throttle response often trace back to poor quality gasoline, and Murphy USA has faced criticism for inconsistent blending, making this entry a warning for riders who rely on dependable fuel through every season. The challenge comes from the way this company structures its pricing. By focusing almost entirely on offering the lowest visible cost, something has to give, and that sacrifice often shows up in the quality of the additives blended into the fuel. Riders who rely on steady, predictable combustion can feel the effects long before a warning light ever appears. Engines begin to idle unevenly, throttle response loses its sharpness, and highway pulls feel weaker than they should. One of the most common issues linked to this station comes from ethanol fluctuation. Posted numbers promise a certain blend, yet riders across several regions report actual readings running higher. Ethanol attracts moisture, and moisture is the one thing any long-distance engine cannot tolerate. Once water begins settling into the lower parts of the system, corrosion follows. That corrosion does not appear overnight, but it slowly works into the pump, the injectors, and the passages meant to deliver clean fuel. Carbureted bikes begin to gum up, and fuel-injected machines develop uneven spray patterns that leave carbon behind. For riders who depend on reliable power during long trips, these problems show up exactly when they are least welcome. A machine that once felt smooth suddenly acts out of character, especially during steady cruising or climbing grades, where fuel quality matters most. Murphy USA offers convenience and low prices. But the long-term effects of inconsistent blends make it a risky stop for engines expected to carry real miles. The next entry highlights a chain that shows how mixed suppliers can create even greater challenges for riders on the open road. Number 6. Speedway. Fuel quality varies widely, and Speedway has gained a reputation for questionable tank maintenance, creating conditions where moisture and sediment can slip through, slowly wearing engines and harming reliability during long-distance riding or heavy-load operation. Speedway relies on regional suppliers, and those suppliers change frequently depending on cost and availability. That means the blend coming through the pump in one town can be very different from what a rider finds a few miles away. For engines that depend on predictable, steady combustion, this kind of variation does not go unnoticed. Riders often describe an immediate shift in idle quality, a softer pull when rolling into the throttle, or an unusual vibration during low-speed cruising. Another concern comes from tank maintenance. Reports from several states show that older underground tanks at some Speedway locations have allowed small amounts of water to mix into the fuel. Water is a silent enemy in any motorcycle setup, and even a small trace can cause real trouble. As moisture settles into the lower part of the system, it leads to corrosion forming inside pumps and injectors. Carbureted bikes develop varnish sooner, and fuel-injected machines lose their crisp delivery as internal surfaces begin to degrade. Riders have also noted cloudy or stale-smelling fuel during colder months, which suggests fuel turnover is not always as fast as it should be. Speedway has the appearance of a dependable national chain, but its fuel variability makes long-term reliability harder to trust. The next entry on this list highlights how widespread convenience can hide even deeper problems for riders who expect consistency every time they fill the tank. Number 5. Love's travel stops. Long-haul riders often assume highway stations are safest. Yet Love's travel stops have experienced issues with inconsistent storage conditions, making their fuel a potential source of slow-building engine wear during multi-day touring runs. High volume can be good if turnover stays consistent, but Love's operates hundreds of stations across regions with very different traffic patterns. Some locations churn fuel constantly, while others let fuel sit longer than riders might expect. When gasoline sits, it becomes more vulnerable to moisture intrusion, and moisture entering underground tanks is one of the fastest ways to compromise fuel quality. Riders across several states have reported cloudy gasoline, unexpected stalling shortly after filling up, and filters showing early signs of contamination. These symptoms often point to water or microbial growth inside tanks that do not receive regular maintenance. Moisture creates a breeding ground for tiny organisms that feed on fuel, leaving behind residue that clings to injectors or settles inside carburetor bowls. Engines that rely on clean, steady delivery start hesitating, idling unevenly, and losing the smooth pull that long-distance riders depend on during extended trips. Even modern systems with precise fuel control struggle when contaminants enter the mix. The challenge with Love's is not intentional cost-cutting, but the sheer difficulty of maintaining consistent quality across so many locations. A rider might stop at one station with perfectly clean fuel, then visit another 100 miles down the road and encounter an entirely different experience. Over time, those surprises add up in ways that turn simple rides into avoidable repairs. The next entry shows how a once-trusted legacy brand can shift when ownership and sourcing change behind the scenes. Number 4. Amoco. Not all versions of a brand perform equally, and Amoco regular grade has weaker detergents that allow deposits to build faster, creating performance decline for riders who expect their engines to stay strong through demanding rides. Regular grade Amoco gasoline today often mirrors the most basic blends offered under its parent company's umbrella, and those blends do not always include the stronger detergent packages riders expect. from a trusted brand. For engines that have carried miles of long trips, weak additives make themselves known quickly through uneven idle, slower warm-ups, and a duller response when rolling into the throttle. Several riders who rely on consistent quality have reported faster carbon buildup when using regular-grade Amoco for extended periods. Direct injection systems are especially sensitive, but carbureted machines are not exempt. When detergents sit at the lower end of accepted standards, deposits accumulate on valves, injectors, and piston crowns. Over time, that buildup steals power and forces engines to work harder than they should. Older storage tanks at select locations only add to the issue. When moisture seeps into underground tanks, it leads to fuel that looks clean at the pump but carries water traces that settle inside the system. Moisture then becomes corrosion, and corrosion becomes a repair bill no rider expects after a simple fill-up. Amoco still carries brand recognition, but regular grade fuel no longer reflects the premium identity many remember. The next entry shows how a station with nationwide reach can create even larger problems once high traffic and inconsistent supply begin to overlap. Number 3. Pilot flyings. High traffic does not always equal high quality, and Pilot Flying J has had reports of inconsistent fuel turnover, which can allow degraded gasoline to reach engines and create long-term problems for serious touring riders. Some locations move fuel quickly, while others sit on older tanks that do not always receive the maintenance riders assume. When a motorcycle depends on clean fuel to maintain smooth throttle response and reliable combustion, even small changes in fuel quality can make a noticeable impact during a long ride. Engines that once felt steady begin to hesitate, stumble under partial load, or lose their crisp feel during highway cruising. Another concern tied to this chain is water contamination. Reports from several states describe riders experiencing sudden rough running shortly after filling up, often caused by small amounts of moisture that entered the fuel through aging underground tanks or after heavy rain. Water does not need to enter in large quantities to cause trouble. A small amount is enough to disrupt injectors, corrode internal components, and create cold start issues that grow worse over time. Riders have also noticed sediment in drained samples, a sign of tanks that need cleaning. Combined with varying detergent levels depending on local suppliers, this creates a blend that is not always predictable. Pilot Flying J remains convenient for cross-country travel, but convenience cannot replace reliability. For riders who expect stable performance from machines built to carry real miles, the uncertainty hidden inside these pumps becomes a risk worth understanding. The next entry reveals how even a major racing-associated brand can fall short when its base fuel fails to meet the needs of dependable engines. Number 2. Sunoco Regular Grade. Many trust the brand name, yet Sunoco Regular Grade lacks the cleaning strength riders often need, allowing carbon to accumulate faster and chip away at performance during highway stretches, where engines demand clean, stable combustion. Regular grade Sunoco gasoline has earned a reputation in several regions for carrying weaker detergent packages than many riders expect, especially when compared to the premium blends the brand promotes. Engines that rely on clean combustion begin showing signs of stress after repeated use, with riders reporting rough idle, hesitation under steady throttle, and a noticeable drop in smoothness during long stretches of highway. Another issue comes from inconsistency across locations. While the brand name is the same, the actual supply can vary depending on local distributors, regional blending requirements, and tank maintenance. Some stations move fuel quickly, but others let fuel sit longer than ideal. When gasoline lingers, it becomes more susceptible to moisture intrusion, especially during seasonal temperature swings. Even small traces of water can create problems inside a motorcycle's fuel system. Injectors lose efficiency, carburetor passages become sticky, and combustion becomes uneven. Riders have also noted stations where ethanol levels have drifted above the posted amount, which accelerates moisture absorption and increases the risk of corrosion. Sunoco still holds a powerful legacy, but its regular grade fuel does not offer the protection most riders expect from a brand tied so closely to performance. For engines that need clean, stable gasoline to deliver consistent power, this gap in quality becomes a real concern. The final entry on this list exposes an even more troubling issue: fuel that never should have reached a pump in the first place. Number 1. Citgo. Among all the stations riders argue about, few names stir debate quite like Citgo when it comes to long-term engine health. Many experienced riders have shared stories of fill-ups that seemed fine at the pump, only to be followed later by rough idle, soft throttle response, or an uneasy vibration under steady cruise. Those symptoms can come from many causes, but fuel quality sits near the top of the list for machines that usually run like clockwork. Part of the concern with Citgo comes from how differently its locations are supplied and maintained across the country. Some stations move fuel quickly and keep equipment in good shape, while others may run older tanks, weaker filtration, or slower turnover that lets moisture and sediment creep in. Motorcycles feel that faster than cars. A little water, a little debris, and suddenly an engine that was smooth last season feels tired, especially on hot days or long grades where combustion needs to stay sharp. Riders who have torn down engines after heavy use on Citgo often talk about darker deposits and more varnish than they expected for the miles ridden. It is not guaranteed at every pump, but the pattern shows up often enough that many long-distance riders quietly simply scrub Citgo off their personal fuel list, especially when the trip ahead is measured in states rather than city blocks. The stations we just covered show how the wrong fuel can wear an engine down long before a rider ever feels the first stumble. But the story does not end with risks. There are still fuel brands that protect engines, preserve performance, and keep long-haul machines running the way they should.